Good morning, sunshines. Today, welcome to Autism Mama Bear Talk, a very special episode. It's the Dream Team Hour. Oh, who is the Dream Team, you're asking? Well, all the greatest people on the autism spectrum with superpowers. Some call it Asperger's syndrome. Well, don't let me delay. Let me bring the guys back to the show. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Dream Team!
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm super excited. We are still waiting for Bradley to join us, but as soon as he comes, we're going to have him back. And all right, today we're going to cover a few interesting topics. We're going to talk about your relationships and dating and some other funny things. Also, some serious subjects like bullying. And I hope Bradley can join us soon because he is truly the face of bullying advocacy. He went through a lot and his mission is incredible. I mean, all of you guys, whatever you do, what you do for autism community and to raise autism awareness and acceptance and inspiring people, not only on the spectrum, but in general. I love you guys. Thank you so much for coming to the show again. And let's bring it on.
Thank you for having we love you back.
Oh,
yeah. Thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you so much. Let me put back our Dream Team Hour.
There we
As soon as Bradley joins us, we're going to have, again, our... All right. Shall we begin? So who wants to start and bring back some memories from your dating times and the first dating, the first romance? People are always interested, so people on the spectrum, you take everything so literally, you don't understand sarcasm, you don't understand hidden jokes and so on. So how do you cope with all the nuisance of romance? How do you understand when a girl sends you a hint that she likes you, or how do you send a hint that you like her or a boy or whatever? Just let me know.
All right. Well, I'll break the ice. And for the viewers that haven't seen or heard me before, my name is Tom Iland, and I'm out in Los Angeles. And I was diagnosed with autism when I was 13. And from a very young age, I wanted to have a girlfriend. It was a long-term goal of mine. And because of autism and because of my own ineptitude, if you will, I went about it awkwardly, to say the least. And when I liked a girl, I would make sure she knew it. I would call her up, say I'd like to meet with her, hang out, leave voicemail after voicemail after voicemail.
Right.
Needless to say, she was a little creeped out, and she told my sister, "Your brother doesn't stop calling me. I'm going to the police." So my sister went to my mother, and my mother established what we call in my family the tennis game analogy. That a conversation, a relationship is a two-way street, or like a tennis game. I serve you the ball, and the girl has to serve it back. And me, right. I was serving, and that wasn't a two-way street. It wasn't a game. So the rule is I get 2 serves, 2 calls. And if the girl doesn't call back or serve it back, I have to find another girl to play with. So I've lived by that rule to this day.
So how old were you then?
I was diagnosed with mild autism when I was 13.
Right.
And this social awkwardness was happening when I was 11, 12, and even after my diagnosis.
Right. Yeah.
I was thought of, and this kind of spills over into the bullying section of this show, but I was the odd kid, and football players and other students knew how smart I was intellectually, but how socially inept I was, and would set me up like, "Hey, that cheerleader over there likes you. Go ask her out."
Yeah.
And I would go ask her out and get rejected, but I had like that Batman mentality. Maybe if I ask her again, she'll go for it. One more time. Ask her again. Nope. And again, I'm starting to draw a crowd. Again, my sister was notified, and again, my mother was notified by my sister. And
right.
At that point, I was like, okay, maybe cheerleaders are not the best people for me, or at least best girlfriend material, I should say.
Yeah.
As I grew older, I realized that looks, physical appearance, they're not everything in a relationship. And I think it was the movie Shallow Hal with Gwyneth Paltrow and Jack Black. That was a real wake-up call for me. Seeing people for what's on the inside and looking past the exterior, because those that look really good on the outside might not look that way on the inside. I emphasize might. Right. It's not always the case, but usually people can be really shallow and just judge by the outside. So really getting to know someone and getting to know them on a heart level, that's what made for better relationships with me.
Yeah.
That is crazy that you bring that up. That is the exact same movie that opened my eyes and made me realize the same thing. And ironically, I don't like saying the word ironically because I don't think anything is ironic, but ironically, that is the same thing that used to happen to me, being set up by the football team to ask out cheerleaders. Like, I think there's like a code book that they pass around how to mess with autistic kids, because they do it a lot. But you see, I personally, before I start, Tom, were you ending yours? Are you finished?
Yeah, I was at a good shifting point where we could hear from you. So
no. If you're not done, go ahead.
Well, so I was talking about looking more on the inside than the outside, and I have dated women both on and off the autism spectrum. And I'm actually in a relationship with a woman who is not on the autism spectrum now, and she knows that I have autism, but we don't let it get in the way of my relationships. And as I've grown and as I've found that stand-up comedy has helped me with my sense of humor, as in I don't actually do stand-up comedy, but I do improv. Right. So that's helped me understand a little bit about rolling with the punches, laughing at myself, finding the humor in a situation, and also even social experiments like reality TV. There was a show, Beauty and the Geek. I don't know if you've heard of this. It was Ashton Kutcher. He put 8 beautiful women and 8 geeky guys in a house and paired them up and see what they could learn from one another. And that's where I learned more about how women feel, what they think, what they expect out of a relationship. And also the geeks got makeovers halfway through each season. So they got new hair, clothes, eyebrows waxed. And it's because of that show that I get my eyebrows waxed every 6 weeks to this day, like clockwork. And by looking at, because yes, we are a little bit still judgmental and a shallow society looking at what's on the outside. So I decided I better look on the outside too if I want to attract women. So that's something else that I did to improve my relationships with women.
That's awesome. I didn't know about the eyebrows, but hey.
I didn't either. I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah, particularly the midsection. You got to keep that.
Oh, yeah, dude. Mine is bad. I snatch them out. I snatch them out all the time. Awesome. Yeah. So, as everyone knows, I'm not very good at catching social cues. Are you at a turning point? Am I good? Can I go?
Go.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. So I will I will give you a little bit about my whole relationship history. I actually remember the very first girlfriend I ever had in elementary school. Her I'm not going to say her name on here because she might be watching. But I had no idea how to read whether someone liked me or not, which is natural in elementary school. But I didn't know, like Tom said, I had no idea how to let them know. So I just ran up and kissed her on her cheek in front of her mom and then ran away. Anyway, we dated, and then it ended up ending because I couldn't read her at all. But one of the things that really got to me whenever I was in school was, you have the urge to want to be in a relationship, to want to have someone there.
Sure.
But the inability to read people and the inability to understand if someone likes you or dislikes you or begins to dislike you is really, really hard to understand. I know that throughout school, it being due to the fact that it was so hard to figure out how to connect to someone, every time I got with someone, it was like instantaneous love, you know, or lust, or whatever you want to call it. Like, I was
Yeah.
falling head over heels for people because, it, just like anyone, if you have no one and then all of a sudden there's someone, you want to do
Mm-hmm.
anything in the world you can to keep them
Mm-hmm.
around. And unfortunately, for people who are young, it is specifically women. They're not looking to settle down when they're in elementary school, middle school, and high school. You know what I mean? They want to pick around and choose. Well, me, I was one of those guys who loyalty to me was key. I felt like if I couldn't understand it, I'm like, look, I'm nice. I'm doing everything right. I pay for everything that these people want, and I bring them presents. Why don't they like me? This makes no sense. Like, and after I got out of high school, the longest relationship I ever had was about half. And after that, like, being that the fact that I could not find anyone that can understand the spectrum,
Right.
I'll be completely honest, I gave up completely, and then I was able somehow to erase that need from my
Mm-hmm.
life. That's why I went live recently and I spoke about sexual transmutation, because I've been practicing it for nearly 5 years. Staying single, I have no plans of being in a relationship. I have no plans of ever getting married. I don't know how to connect to someone, and to be honest, I'm terrified of even trying because people do not understand the spectrum. They don't.
Right.
We're not like everyone else. We're wired differently, and in order to find someone to connect to, they have to be able to at least understand. Look, just because this person's different doesn't mean that they're weird or they're not normal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. What's it called
And
again?
what is it?
Sexual transmutilation?
Sex.
Oh, mutilation. Oh,
Oh God!
we just went
Hey,
50
I'm
minutes
No,
break.
no.
I'm Polish,
Sex.
so I speak very awkward words. People think I'm on the spectrum because of my Polish, so I say very
Okay.
uncomfortable things sometimes in social gatherings.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's sexual transmutation, and what it is it's whenever you suppress sexual urges to the point to where they pretty much level off, and you don't have them anymore, and all the fantasies and things that people get when they're turned on, it goes away, and then
Mm-hmm.
all that creativity that your mind naturally produces to attract a mate, it automatically switches that, and then whenever you go into a project or something, it can focus all the creativity it would have used to try and impress a
Mm-hmm.
woman uh, into the project. Like, many of the greatest constructs in history have been made. Like, Rome.
Right.
Rome was built on sexual transmutation. The greatest paintings, the greatest structures in history were built to impress a woman. Well,
Yeah.
when you take the opposite sex out of the equation, and you just use that creativity on working on projects, there's no limit to what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, personally, that's where I stand on it. Is I don't feel I've pushed it away for so long that I don't feel the need to connect with anyone. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like, honestly, it would probably be a financial and mental strain. So I kind of just like, no.
Yeah, Tucker, baby, explain because some people are still joining us that sexual transmutation has nothing to do with transsexual orientation or
Oh no.
transvestite lifestyle and
Okay.
so on.
Yes.
Explain what it
Well,
is.
thank. Well, what it is to put it very simply,
Mm-hmm.
when you try to attract a mate, when a guy goes and tries to attract a female, or a female wants to make a guy attracted to
Mm-hmm.
them, your brain kicks into overdrive. Something that we naturally do. It begins releasing a ton of dopamine, and what this does is it causes your creativity to skyrocket. and you can literally come up with anything on the spot and then just get it going, and it goes natural. It becomes natural. Well, if you suppress these sexual urges and you actually stop focusing on it, it takes about 30 days to kick in, and it takes a lot of practice. But if you suppress these urges, that creativity at a certain point will automatically kick in whenever you go to do other projects, whether you're building a business, whether you're painting, whether you're designing something. That creativity that was used to attract a mate will automatically kick in to be used on your project, because your mind no longer uses it to focus on attraction. That's basically it in a nutshell. That's what sexual transmutation is. It has nothing to do with transgenders. It has nothing to do with changing your sex, and it has nothing to do with mutilation.
Right.
But yeah,
lesson learned.
Hey,
no, that's a very good topic, because people, when they see sexual transmutation, they're like, oh, let's not go there. But, even when you had your live video on Facebook on this subject, at first I was like, oh, but then you explained, and I was like, oh, makes sense. I mean, even Apostle Paul, he was practicing that. Like you said, Roman soldiers in the Roman Empire, when they were going to the war, to the battle, they had to practice that, so they would be super sharp and focused. And even nowadays, the football players and NBA, basically all the sportsmen, they are advised to do that, when they go on tour and I don't know what's it called, World Cup.
Yeah, it's actually whenever a UFC fighter, UFC fighters are also, they are told no sex, no masturbation, no stimuli whatsoever within 30 to 60 days of the fight. Now, this also has to do with buildup of testosterone, but it is the mental sharpness. And I know that the subject in itself is touchy, but your body, when you do have a release, your body actually releases very essential minerals that it has to use a lot of energy to reproduce. And this is something that the minerals that are there, they actually are directly linked to creativity. So hence why people usually go to sleep afterwards, because it shuts this down.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And before we move on to the next, and we'll bring Bradley in as well, I also wanted to say that a book that really opened things or ideas for me, I mentioned Shallow Hal as a movie. Well, the book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, by Dr. John Gray. I read that book. I live right by a library here in town, and checked it out and saw how different people and genders really communicate. There's no autism, no spectrum mentioned, but inherently men and women communicate differently. Like, men want to help out. They want to solve problems. They want to get things done. Women want to share their feelings. They want to be heard. They want to be understood. And that brings me to another movie that kind of gave me some perspective, and where I first heard that title, What Women Want, with Mel Gibson and Helen Hunt.
Oh, yes.
You get to hear what women are thinking. That also gave me a little bit of perspective. But Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, I highly recommend you read it, look at the different communication styles of the two genders, and again, no autism involved.
I will.
Anyone in a relationship needs to read that book.
Yeah,
I will be picking that book up.
Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Yes, basically, women are like
loser,
and men. Then.
But once you learn the language of the other planet, then you can start to be more effective. And if women know that you are reading that book, that you are taking an interest in wanting to understand her and her entire gender, she's going to appreciate that.
Listen, ladies.
I can imagine. Hey, you got to. I would have to get past that whole. I don't know if it's a fear or just being smart. I'm not sure which one it is that keeps me out of relationships. Anyway,
I think it's the right time. You always have to trust the timing. And the more you study the social cues, the more you study about the other gender, or, to study the person that you are interested in. Like even the 5 love languages. It's for married couples who've been together like for 30, 40 years. And you cannot hear me?
I hear you.
I can hear you.
Can you hear her? I can't even see her.
Oh, that's not good.
Well,
I can't see Tucker.
I see and hear everybody.
Yes, me too.
She disappeared from my screen.
Give me 1 second. I will refresh the...
I can't hear anything.
1 second. I'm refreshing. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
We still need to hear from Bradley on this if he has anything to add.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Can you hear me? Can everyone see me and hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Tucker?
I can't. I can see Tom and hear Tom, but I can't see or hear anyone else.
Oh my. Can you restart your app? Tom, can you tell Tucker, since he can hear you, to restart?
Tucker, is it possible for you to restart your app or close out and open it again?
Sure. Y'all just continue.
All right.
Yep, we'll be waiting for you.
Okay.
Okay, and Bradley, you can hear us, right? You can see us and hear us? Awesome.
Yeah.
We are interested in your point of view on romance, dating, and if you had any trouble as a teenager, with approaching another person.
For me, it was just social awkwardness.
Right.
Knowing that I was different my whole life. When I became a teenager. So, I never knew what it was for me.
Mm-hmm.
And after I graduated high school, I finally figured it out. And with it being Pride Month, I'm just gonna say it, I figured out that I was gay.
Oh, wow.
So, I did date women when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I actually found my first girlfriend, and she passed away of cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I dated 2 other women after that, but there wasn't like a clear connection between the girls and I, other than I basically looked toward them as friendship. And not knowing what to base a relationship on because of what I went through in my past, I saw that as, okay, I have this girl that's my friend, so she must be my girlfriend. So, but ever since I graduated high school, I've never really had a relationship that I could actually consider an actual relationship. Just on the fact that everyone judges my differences as appearance, and all that kind of plays into the fact that I've been single most of my life, so.
Right. And when you realize that you're attracted to other men, have you tried to attract, a person that you were attracted to, and what was the struggle?
I have approached other men that I was attracted to. The struggle for me was just the awkwardness, knowing that I'm different in my head. And so approaching somebody of the same sex or the opposite sex was just difficult for me.
Yeah.
In all spectrum of it, so.
Right. So basically, in general, just having a social interaction with other people was very stressful for you because you didn't know.
Right.
Right.
Today, I still socialize with more women than I do men, just because it's easier. I know that I'm not attracted to them physically, but mentally I am, so I can relate to them more. So I find myself more drawn to socializing with women.
Right.
But yeah, it's just the social awkwardness of it, knowing that my appearance is going to kind of push them away.
Right.
And it's not saying that I think I'm unattractive. It's just I can judge how they look at me. I can see it in their face. Well, sorry, you're not attractive to me, so you need to go away. Type thing when they look at me.
Right. Now it's a very difficult subject. I think. I mean, we all had a laugh hearing Tucker and Tom talking about their, attempts to attract other girls and all the ups and downs. But actually, it's in general, I think for everyone, it's a very sensitive topic because we are trying to look our best, to sound very smart and intelligent, to attract basically another person that we are really attracted to. And like Tucker pointed very well, that we as human beings, we are born to be with someone. We are not created to be individual. Even in the old days, God created Adam and Eve because Adam was feeling very lonely, and even though he had the love from God who created him, he still needed a mate. So we are created to have a companion for life, and it's natural that we all are looking for someone to love and to be loved by someone. So thank you so much for your feedback and for your insight, all of you guys. And you were talking about all those movies, Hello Shal and
yeah.
What Women Want. I mean, I love those movies. It's I was watching, years ago, and the Hello Shal. It's exactly, I was like, yeah, that's typical guys. They're just looking at the outward appearance, but once the guy sees the girl's intellect or whatever she has to offer, or for a guy, the same with the woman, trying to attract a man and whatever, and just seeing another person's inside, what they have to offer, I think it's the core. And then it doesn't matter if they look different, or you don't see the outside, you're so focused and attracted to the inside. Like sense of humor, I hope my husband doesn't hear that, because he's always like, I'm your personal comedian. But it's true, his sense of humor really attracted me to him, and also his skills. He's a great singer.
Nice.
And stuff. But that was what really attracted me to him. And okay, the outside package is extra, it's a bonus, but I always focus on the inside, what people have to offer. And I do feel very drawn to people who have great sense of humor, or who are nerdy like me, that I can relate to. And so yeah, I think we're looking for someone similar, although they say that opposites attract. I don't know about that. I always look for someone who is as crazy as me. Okay, I don't like surprises. I like everything organized. About that, I am more like, OCD. And I like everything planned. I like my schedule. I like to know where we are going. Even when we are driving as a family, my husband is like, okay, taking a different road. I'm like, whoa, where are we going? Where are we going? I need to know. I'm panicking. So he's like, yeah, chill out. Taking a little detour. Look at the beautiful scenery. I'm like, I like to know in advance. But yes.
And that's awesome that you really know yourself and what you want and how you can use that and apply that to a relationship. And when it it comes to relationships, I've found and I didn't mention this in my intro, but I wrote a book recently, Come to Life, Your Guide to Self-Discovery. And in it, we talk about loving yourself first and foremost. I wrote it with my mother. Loving yourself first and foremost is what's going to attract others to you. Because if you just sit back saying, life sucks, I hate myself, you're not going to attract anybody. Whereas you think of yourself as a rock star, a superstar, like the most awesome person on earth. And again, here's another movie. It's like Shallow Hal, but for the individual. It's in theaters now. I Feel Pretty with Amy Schumer. Basically, she's a little bit overweight, and she's in a spin class, hits her head. When she comes to, she thinks of herself as a supermodel. It's like, oh my God, I look great. And then that confidence resonated with everybody, and she started getting more of what she wanted. So once you love yourself and realize that you are awesome inside and out, others are going to love you back. So, kudos.
I got his book, by the way. I got a signed copy of that book. I have read it over and over and over and over and over again. It is amazing.
Yes, it is. It's an awesome book. It's an awesome creed that Tom has. You know, that's his like trademark. Know yourself, love yourself, be yourself. You know, and it's true. It's a law of psychology, law of attraction. You know, when you feel confident, when you start to focusing on the positives, like I was told, you know, years ago, like if you look in the mirror and oh my, look at then you reinforce the negativity and you project this negative energy to others, so others will start seeing you the way you see yourself. So when you look in the mirror, you can just say, you know, okay, I will find 3 positive things today on myself, you know, and just focus on those 3 things. It doesn't have to be just the look. It can be, you know, my voice sounds great today, or you know, I feel very fit today. You know, I'm gonna do whatever, and just positive, 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 and then it will resonate. And people are drawn to happy people.
Very much so.
Nobody likes the my life is horrible. You know.
Can I add on to that? Do you mind if I throw a little something in there?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Something that I noticed in school was I had, and you can't really tell now, and I'll explain why shortly, but I had the worst case of acne that 3 different doctors in their entire career had ever seen. Every inch of my body was covered in cystic acne when I was in school, and in order to try and hide my face, my hair used to come down to about here. I had very long hair. I wore all black. I was not goth or emo, but I did wear all black, and I wanted to hide everything that I could. I even at one point wore masks, so people couldn't see me. And I'll tell you what, the only thing that I found that cured this acne, and it's still bad, just not on my face anymore. The only thing that I found that cured it was I removed my mirror. I actually I covered up my mirror. I covered up all my photos. I did not touch my face. I did not believe I had acne. I didn't focus on it, because I used to wake up every day and cry when I looked in the mirror, because I was like, you are the ugliest thing on this planet. How could you just kill yourself? I mean, I literally used to say these things, and I finally just got fed up with it and was like, and I actually heard about the law of attraction, started reading about that, and I began preaching to myself that you have perfect skin. What are you talking about? This is a joke. You don't even have acne. I completely quit using all products because Proactive, the acne medicine, was actually what caused my acne. I had 1 or 2 pimples, and we used Proactive for several years.
We shouldn't say the name of the product, but
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
I used it for several. Well, put the blame on me.
Yeah.
It's all on me, not you. I used an acne priors, and it got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and
Yeah.
worse and worse. Just I gave up, and then I quit using all soaps on my face, all anything, and I just used water. And I told myself every day, I was like, your skin's clear. And I'm gonna tell you something. Within 2 months of beginning doing this, I began to look like what you see now. No acne. I'm obviously because I even read homemade, not chemical based, homemade calorific acid into my skin, trying to burn off the acne, and I actually melted parts of my face, which you can only see up close.
Wow.
But the only thing that cured it, the only thing that cured it was curing my mentality and saying, "Look, man, this is you're lying to yourself when you look in the mirror. That's not you. That's just what you look like. What's on the outside has nothing to do with what's on the inside, because beauty is within the eye of the beholder, just like
It's
success is within the eye of the beholder. It doesn't matter what somebody sees on the outside, because if they're not willing to look on what's on the inside, they're not worth your time." That's the way I looked at it.
Yeah.
Right.
Sue is asking, is it stress-related immune system issue?
Yes.
About the acne.
Very much so. And that was the thing. And that was it. Like I was extremely depressed during school. Bullying was really, really bad. That's a whole nother story to get into. But it was depression, having self-doubt and looking at myself every day and telling myself these horrible things was causing my body to literally live in a cortisol overdrive. I mean, my body was releasing cortisol constantly, and to anyone that's viewing and doesn't know what cortisol is, it is the stress hormone, the chemical that your brain releases when you are stressed out. And what it does when you're stressed out or you speak negative of yourself, your body begins dripping cortisol, and it shuts off anything that your body doesn't need to survive in that exact moment. So your immune system completely shuts down. It'll stop growing. Your skin begins to overproduce oils. So yes, stress and the literally contemplating about having acne will give you acne. Just like contemplating about having good health over time will give you good health. It's the same deal. So yes, stress and cortisol was the main focus of the acne.
Yeah. And as Autism Mama Bear, I need to mention that many kids on the autism spectrum, they have, maybe pre-adolescents, maybe they don't have skin issues, but they have bowel issues because it affects, stress affects cortisol. High cortisol affects also the gut flora. It just wipes up, it kills all the good stuff, and, you get the irritable bowel syndrome or celiac disease or all the other stuff that comes with it. And that's why it's important that we as parents or educators or friends of people on the spectrum will reinforce all the positive things, all the skills, all the talents, constantly remind those people what wonderful, human beings they are and talented, and always reinforce and focus on the positives. Because it's like many kids, they come like beaten down puppies, they are like, they already think low about themselves. They go to school, they experience bullying and mocking and all kinds of stuff, which I want Bradley later on to elaborate. But those kids expect someone to stand up and speak for them and just remind them all the good things that they have to offer to the world. And like Tucker, you shared, in our interview, your experience with bullying. You were seeking for someone to help you, even from the teachers, and they just failed miserably. And I know of kids who will not even bother to ask other people for help because they feel just so low about themselves, and they don't get any positive feedback from anyone. So it's just horrible, heartbreaking.
Can I give you just to share a tip with everybody? Anyone who is dealing with gut problems or acne, this is going to sound cliche, but the old saying that an apple a day keeps the doctor away is more than just an old saying, but it is very specific. Now, just any apple will not work. It has to be USDA approved organic apple.
Thank
If
you.
you eat
Yes.
one to two apples in as soon as you wake up in the morning, it actually coats the inside of your gut with I cannot think the name of them at the moment, but there's a really good thing that it coats the inside of your gut with and prepares it for the day, so it helps with digestion and clears up your skin. Your skin is will directly reflect whatever you have done in the past 60 days. Just saying.
Yeah, antioxidant and all the digestive enzymes and fiber that's in the apple. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it must be organic and non-GMO for sure. Not sprayed with pesticides and chemicals that actually go in the apple and then you eat it and cause. I just wanted to say hi to Barbara and Sue who are here. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. And I would like to hear from Bradley because he is actually the anti-bullying advocate, and he experienced some horrific things in the past, and that's why he's doing what he's doing now. So Bradley, thank you for coming, and could you please share your experience and what you are doing and why you are doing what you're doing now?
Well, mine started in 5th grade when I was surrounded by a group of young men that were just kind of trapping, well, not kind of, but they were trapping me in the bathroom on a daily basis. Anytime I decided I needed to use the bathroom, they would show up. And after that first year of dealing with it and searching for help, and as you said, you can go to a teacher, but teachers can let you down greatly. It was finally decided, well, just stay away from them. Don't go near them. And as I have said in my videos, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because if somebody truly wants to bully you, they're gonna find you.
Yeah.
No matter where you go. You could be walking home from school and they're gonna find you. So, my 6th grade year, I thought it would get better. But instead of just the bathroom, my first class was physical education. So now the bullying would start in the gym, locker room, first thing in the morning, and then continue on in the bathroom throughout the day. And that continued on for at least half the year until one teacher who did the right thing and intervened was able to allow me to share my voice and share my story. And ever since then, things have gotten better. Now, that's not to say that I don't deal with bullies on a basis today, because there are still people who look at me and see that I'm different and want to make fun of my appearance because I'm different.
Right.
And not only am I dealing with that on a regular basis, but I'm dealing with the mental health repercussions from when I was younger. I've been diagnosed with severe depression and anxiety that I deal with on a daily basis. And I rise above that daily, and I focus my energy on caring for others, as I've just recently obtained my CNA license. And So I take care of people with dementia and a broad spectrum of mental health issues.
Good for you.
That's amazing.
So it's just you need to know that there are people out there that will take a chance to speak up for you. And if not, then obviously the people around you aren't there to better yourself, or better you.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that I did was I had to go through my friends list. I had to figure out who are my friends,
Yeah.
my close friends, who are my work friends.
Right.
And break them down into groups as to figuring out who is there to help me, but also for me to help them.
Yeah.
It's kind of a give and take scenario.
Tennis game.
You can't just expect to receive.
Right.
You've also got to put out there as well.
Mm-hmm. And giving can't be the same way either. It has to be a two-way street.
Oh yeah.
Right. I say that all the time. I don't know how many two-way streets I have shut down because people treat them as a one-way street.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Wow. Maybe Tom can actually help you, because Tom and his book, I don't know if you got a chance to read Tom's book, Come to Life. Amazing, and it's very, very encouraging and inspiring to actually. But I'll let Tom to speak.
Oh, thank you. Well, one thing that my mother and my sister taught me at a young age was something about the circle of friends. So think of your friends, the people in your life, as a target, like an archery target. The bullseye are your family members, your close friends, people you would share intimate details with, those that you rely on most, and they are good to you. Then you go out one layer, you've got good friends. You see them often, you hang out often, you can confide in them, but you don't see them or as intimately as your family or closest friends. Go one more ring out, you've got acquaintances, people you see once in a blue moon. You might keep the conversation short with them, not too many intimate details. Then you've got one layer out, one more ring, you have strangers, people you don't know, people you don't associate with. So knowing where people are on your circle of friends, where they are in the target, and people can move in, move closer, center to the bullseye, or they might be going outwards. As you grow up and you start growing apart, they go further out, or maybe somebody moves or gets married and then they're not as available or as often. They might go further out. You might be able to reconnect with them down the road, but I understood and realized as I grew older that the circle of friends changes. I can't be close friends with every single person that I know, and they have their own lives that they have to lead, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So as long as you are aware of the company that you keep and know where they are in your circle of friends, and if they are weighing you down, or if you're doing too much giving, and they're receiving, not meeting you halfway, then they may have to move further out on that circle of friends.
Right.
We have a question, Bradley. What should the average person do to bring more awareness to bullying in schools?
Acknowledge it. Don't deny that it's happening. Too many times I have seen, oh, my son or daughter would never do anything like that. Or, oh, those kids are perfect. They would never do anything like that. And a perfect example of that came forth in the documentary The Bully Project. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
No, I haven't.
It takes place over the course of a school year for several different students in the United States. And at first it takes a while for the kids to accept the cameras. But eventually, throughout the school year, they start to ignore the cameras and start acting like themselves. And one of the scenes gets so bad where they're basically stabbing this kid with pencils and everything that the producer of the video has to take the footage and show the school district and show the parents what's going on. And one of the administrative ladies in the school is like, oh, those kids are perfect. They would never do anything like that.
Yeah.
And in your head, you're going to be, in your head, or even in, like me, I'm sitting there yelling at the TV, what are you talking about? They showed you the footage. It's right there in front of your face. You can't ignore
you got it on camera.
Right. People just need to stop ignoring it and acknowledge that it is happening.
You're absolutely right. And we do live in a see something, say something society nowadays. And I've heard the quote that evil triumphs when good men stand around and do nothing. So if you see something, say something, it's simply unacceptable for a young person to have to go through that kind of ridicule and being made fun of by their peers like that.
Yeah.
And looks can be deceiving. Someone can be two-faced, be the nice, perfect little princess on one side or around certain circles, parts of friends. On the other, they're the meanest person, and they put others down and make others feel bad. So there can be that like different person in different environments.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, bullying.
And thank you, Mark, for that question.
Good question. Yes, Mark.
Yeah, thank you. But it's a plague. Nowadays, it's a plague at schools, and it's not just about kids who are different, kids with Asperger's or any disability. It's in general. It's a plague. There? Every school has bullying problem, even though they say like there are posters everywhere. Our school will not tolerate any bullying. It's nice in theory. Yes, all those posters are great, but you know, like Tucker was sharing with me in his last interview with me, that those posters were like a mockery because he was in anger, you know, ripping this poster and bringing to the teacher asking for help, you know, to intervene to stop the bullying. And the teacher was just oblivious to it and laughing. I mean, it boils my blood when I hear about bullying, especially, you know, for people who are on the autism spectrum, especially like my son, nonverbal, and who cannot speak for themselves. They can only, you know, show with emotions or higher cortisol level.
True.
So that's
and talking about it in words are another thing. They say they'll do something about it, but only if you take action. You actually get involved, intervene, stand up for someone who is being harassed or can't stand up for themselves. That's going to make you more effective. And mind you, there is a bit of this is something I've noticed in the school system. A bully could be hitting somebody, victimizing them, but if you come in and hit that bully, you're at fault.
Yeah.
So it's like two wrongs don't make a right, but at the same time, you're defending the helpless, and then the person who's doing the defending is the one who gets punished. And I know we were going to talk about this show Atypical, or maybe touch on that in the interview. There's a scene where Bridget is the actress's name. Casey is the sister of Sam. Casey stands up for a girl who's being bullied, and Casey gets suspended because Casey hit the bully.
Right.
So it's like you have to tell a bully, get away, knock it off, go away. But you can't hit the bully or then you get into trouble. So there's middle ground. It's like you want to do one extreme, like do nothing or get everything you can in your power to get the bully off, but finding a middle ground, not hitting, but still saying, hey, beat it. Something along those lines. So, yeah, it's such a complex situation. I know some young people want to make fun of people because they don't understand or they have their own issues, And then there are those that really do want to help but may not always go about it the best way. And these are lessons and things I've discovered as I've grown older and looking back on all the years where I was the victim, but I realized I can't be a victim my entire life. I had to rise above my own circumstances. And mind you, these bullies do grow up too. Some of them do learn their lessons and some of them don't. And I was very fortunate to actually have some of my past bullies apologize to me. But the circumstances were that a fellow classmate of ours had died at an early age, and we were all attending this young man's funeral. Wow. So they were kind of emotional, and they were kind of feeling regret. Oh, Tom, I'm so sorry. I did all those things to you. And I, being the bigger, better person, forgave them.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Forgiving yourself allows you, much like loving yourself allows you to love others, forgiving yourself allows you to forgive others too.
Right.
Rather than holding grudges or wishing ill will or seeking revenge on the people that have wronged you, that's going to hurt you at your core.
It's true. Tucker, if I can ask you to put the volume slightly low because there is an echo and I don't want to mute you. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And Mark says, Bradley, you are amazing and you are a hero to the cause that you are fighting for. And I absolutely agree. You guys are amazing. And Tom, you are also an inspiration. And I love hearing you talk about these subjects. It's, guys, that's why I invited you. This is the dream team for me. This is all the aspects. Honestly, those three brains, you guys put together, and we can do so much for the cause of anti-bullying, raising autism awareness and acceptance, and understanding what autism or Asperger's syndrome is really all about, and how the life on the spectrum looks like from your perspective, the real insight. So thank you guys so much for all the valuable insight. Final thoughts?
Yeah, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
If I can go back to Mark Tinsley's question, maybe something that you could also do is find that movie, The Bully Project. Show it to everybody that you know.
Right.
And because one of the greatest, what I think is the greatest things that came out of that was one of the gentlemen who lost their child to bullying through suicide started an organization called Stand for the Silence. And what it is basically, if you, like you said earlier, if you see something, say something.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's one thing that I bring to the kids when I speak to them. I always bring a bully advocate pledge for them to sign, saying, if I see something, I'm going to say something.
Yeah, absolutely. We all have to stand up and speak up, because people who are being bullied, very often they are scared and they don't feel like they have any backup, any allies to actually be their soldiers.
Most of the time they don't.
Yeah.
It's scary. And I'll add one last thing before we go as well about bullying, and that is that we also have to completely obliterate this garbage mindset that people have come up with, that bullying, it's you're being a sissy, bullying makes them tough, they need somebody to pick on them, or when they get out in the real world, they're not going to be able to handle it, this, that, and other. Right. There's a certain amount of toughening up that's required for every kid in life. But when you are in an environment where you're supposed to be learning, how are you supposed to learn if you're having Neanderthals mess with you all day, every day? And personally, I attempted suicide 3 different times. I've hung myself. I've put a gun in my mouth and pulled the trigger. So I know where you're coming from, Bradley. I know where you're coming from, Tom. I feel you. and these people that go out here and attempt to defend it and say that it's okay. Let me say one thing to you specifically. You're playing with children's lives. If a kid shooting himself in the face is funny, please go home and tell that to your own child.
Yeah.
All right? So, this is not a joke. It is not a game. When kids' lives are on the line, you need to stand up, grow some huevos, and be serious about this. Because you know what? It could be your kid that gets shot in the next school shooting. It could be your kid that hangs theirself from a 2-story window because you supported someone picking on a kid just so they can be a little tougher. Grow up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Well
Absolutely.
said.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say that I know there are parents out there, and I've seen a few messages about this, that are afraid, that want to keep their kids with them their whole lives. Yeah, Trina Turner, fearing her son getting bullied. You, Autism Mama Bear, you want what's best for your kid. You don't want any harm to come to them. So you keep them from the outside world. But I have to say that goes against so many laws. The laws of nature, the laws of attraction. And I think I mentioned this in my last interview with you about the idea of Jurassic Park, Jurassic World. Life cannot be contained. Life breaks free. Life finds a way. And it's up to us as parents to let our kids make mistakes. Yes, it will be painful. Yes, there will be setbacks. Yes, there will be failure. But it's what will allow them to grow, see potential they wouldn't have otherwise know that they have. And that they can pick themselves up again and keep moving forward. And yes, rejection, failure, depression is all very difficult to face, but overcoming it is what makes you who you are.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that Batman mentality at the beginning of this interview, realizing I can pick myself up, keep moving forward, rather than let my fears dictate where my life is going or to hold me back or keep me at a standstill. Keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Everything is going to be okay. Let me say that to parents. Everything is going to be okay. And if everything is not okay now, it's not the end. In the end, everything is okay. That's John Lennon talking, the late John Lennon.
Yep, and Tom, I'm sure that you can relate to me on this. I'm sure everyone's heard that knowledge is not power. It is potential power, and knowledge in action is power.
That's right.
Everyone watching this, you have the knowledge now, if you didn't before, that these are issues. These are not underlying issues. They are completely out in the open issues. And having the knowledge isn't good enough. Unless you take action. Knowledge is not power.
Yep.
So take action. Stand up.
It's
do the right thing.
It's like a car with a full tank of gas that's not turned on and not shifted into drive and gas pedal, foot on the gas. You just sit there with a full tank of gas, or you can shift into drive and go forward. Because life doesn't come to you. It's up to you to come to life. That's why we named the book Come to Life.
Yeah, I know. That's awesome. But again, that's why I really appreciate what you are doing, that you are speaking to people, to the audience, more broad audience, to actually speak to your kids, to educate your kids about bullying, because it's not really, making a young boy, reinforcing that he's a tough guy, oh yeah, look at that, he can bully some less fortunate kid, oh, what a good, strong boy he is. No. We have to address those bullies, when you are bullying someone else, you're that little.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it starts at home. It starts at home, too, because a lot of parents
probably going on at home.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing. A lot of parents, they say, "Oh, well, I don't understand how my kid can do this." Well, how about you take a minute to look in the mirror and see what you did to cause this?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that like I've been listening to a lot of Jack Canfield. He wrote The Success Principles. It's right here on my coffee table. And he talks about the law of attraction, how you create your own circumstances. If you think negatively of yourself, you're going to attract more negative circumstances. If you think positively of yourself and think you have the power, you're going to attract more positivity and more situations where you have the power.
Yes, so, and we see a lot of times.
And yes, too much bullying and negativity can be detrimental, though, Trina, Turner, George. However, it's being the change you want to see in your life, as Gandhi said. Be the change you want to see. Show a positive example. Have a better mindset and be more like what you want, and that's going to...
Sure, but I can relate to Tina.
Absolutely.
I can relate to Tina as a mom, of a child who experienced bullying. Because even our daughter, she's the smallest in the class because she's like 2 years ahead. And so all the other peers are much taller, older than her. And she's the youngest and the smallest. And she has complex about that. And people are bullying her because of her height. Ridiculous, but she really suffered. She really didn't want to go to school. She had stomach pain. I mean, all the symptoms of physical stress. And Trina is saying, her son had to be homeschooled because of the bullying as well that he experienced. And yes, it's up to us, and we have to go out to the world and face the giant. But at this moment, when you are being bullied as a kid, you are going to your worst nightmare. And really, like Tucker, he even had suicidal thoughts because of that. And I know there are millions of kids who experience that every day. And maybe it is better to remove them from such school for a while to actually help them and heal them physically and emotionally, and then slowly reintroduce to school. I don't know. I mean,
I have
a few tips.
Well, can I go first, and then we can go over your tips?
Go, bud. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. So when I was a freshman in high school, I got bullied by a football player to the point where it got physical. He pushed me down, and I went down. I didn't fight back.
Right.
At that point, I was removed from the public school system and actually went to a school down here in L.A. that specializes in kids with autism and teaches social skills. And that was where I really flourished and actually learned about body language and nonverbal communication. All the information that was missing, I finally got. It was my goal then to go back to the school I'd left and graduate from there my senior year. But what hadn't changed were the attitudes of my peers. So my mother worked with my local school district to bring in the Yes I Can program. It's at the University of Minnesota that teaches the importance of diversity and pairs up young people with learning differences with mentors, and they go out into the community together. So you can educate someone about how to protect themselves, how to be their best selves, but their peers have to be educated as well. We've talked a lot about two-way streets in this interview. Both parties, the bullies and the bullied, have to be educated about the other.
And see, one of the things that I was going to add in there, and I see that y'all saw I had a bad connection issue, and I actually had to switch to my computer and use someone else's Wi-Fi, but I'm here. So one of the tips, I'm not sure if y'all covered, but in my absence, but I wanted to put it in here, and that is that one of the things I noticed, and I did not notice this until I got out of school, and that was that my own self-confidence was one of the reasons that I was bullied, because being on the spectrum is one of the things that we suffer from mostly is social anxiety. It's more than just a fear of interacting with others. It's an inability to understand how to interact with others. And that leads you to a lot of depression. And the more depressed someone is, this is kind of a catch-22, the more depressed someone is, the more prone they are to be bullied, because a bully is this, like you said, a bully is this big. I mean, no matter what kind of a bully you are, you're small you're small as a flea. It's just that simple. And here's the thing. Every one of us know that and I'm speaking to bullies now, we know when you look in the mirror that you don't like what you see. Otherwise, you wouldn't go to places and torment people who can't defend themselves. Why don't you try to, if you're so cool, go mess with the linebacker of the football team, because I mean, then we'll see what you can really do. But besides that, my point is that those of us who were bullied, a lot of times, we didn't start it. Our depression derives from the fact that we feel useless, worthless, and we begin to believe what the bullies say. But if we embrace self-confidence, then there is a better chance that other people are going to come into your circle and begin to, whether they protect you or help you protect yourself or not, that it is a huge factor. Self-confidence was the only thing that allowed me, like I started, one of my things I did is I began laughing at myself and laughing at the people who were making fun of me. I actually began training in martial arts, and I trained for years trying to defend myself in several different styles, trying to figure out a way to save my own hide. And here is a tip that no one is going to share with you about training. Once you learn how to defend yourself, don't invite anyone to come learn with you. Don't tell anyone that you're doing it. I personally promoted our dojo and tried to get people to join and train with me because I was excited about it. And it was the worst decision I ever made. I got in more fights in school. People want to test you.
Challenge.
And you combine depression with that, and it's game over.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
And watch the bullies come join the dojo, and then it's like,
Yes, I know.
Oh, well, no, here's the thing, though. Here's the cool part. All the people that came to the dojo and tried to test, at school, they were big and bad. But in the dojo, they couldn't handle. They couldn't even do the workouts.
So there you go. Win-win. No, this reminds me of Karate Kid, when...
exactly what it is.
Ralph,
right?
Exactly what it is.
Going and seeing the worst nightmare bully actually in the club that he wanted to train, and then has to fight him with Mr. Miyagi. Oh, I love him.
Yeah.
And also, I'm thinking about David and Goliath. David was just a tiny little boy, the youngest of the family, just a shepherd boy, skinny, I imagine, like when King Saul was giving him the armor to go and fight with Goliath, who was a giant, humongous. My husband is 6'8", but Goliath was like 3 times his height. So King Saul gave him the armor and everything, and he looked like a little kid, in his daddy's clothing. It's like, what do? I cannot even move. It's too heavy. So he just had a slingshot, and 3 or 5 smooth pebbles. That's it, and he went to face this giant. So I think our kids, when they feel this power inside and we reinforce them and we tell them that they are great, and whatever the bullies say, don't believe their lies, because they're lying. They're trying to put you down, to squish you, squash you, and, to destroy you. So don't believe the lie that they are spreading. Just believe in the power that's inside you. I believe that it's the power coming from God, our creator, but whatever you want to believe, but believe that this power is bringing the best out of you and you can handle anything, even the worst bully. Okay, sometimes physical bullying, especially when the bully is like a football quarterback or whatever. Yeah, and they can come and actually physically put you down, take you down. Okay, so then actually self-defense courses and everything, it's very advisable. But you have to believe that you can stand up and, scare them. Just stand up.
You have all the skill in the world. If you're not confident, you're going to get beat.
They expect you to be, oh, you little punk. Oh, and when you actually rise up,
Like I said, that's why I was saying. That's why I said, like, look, they feel tough because they pick on people who either can't defend themselves or have no self-confidence to defend themselves. Not once will you see one of these cool bullies go and pick on somebody that is bigger than them. And let me explain something to those of you who are suffering from this, something they're not going to tell you in school. In school, there is a pyramid. On top, you have jocks and cheerleaders, and then at the bottom, you have nerds. But let me explain something to you no one's going to tell you. When you get out of school, that pyramid flips because brains is where it's at. And brawn, we put you to work in construction crews. Just saying.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I love this dream team, because I consider myself to be a nerd. I always have been a dork nerd. I was always the brainiac, and I enjoyed spending time, doing puzzles and different things. And like you said, the pyramid flips, and people who are popular for different reasons, physical activities, cheerleading, whatever. Where are they now? What do they do?
McDonald's.
I don't want to say that. Again, no calling names. But yeah, that's exactly, but it's always this school years, and then high school for many people is like the worst time of their life. And I was watching The Crown. I don't know if you're familiar with the show, The Crown. Very British. It's about the Queen. Queen Elizabeth II.
Yes.
Yes. It's I don't know, every time we watch it we switch to the British accent. And we speak like this. But even Prince Charles, he was bullied. Prince Philip, Queen Elizabeth's husband, he was bullied a lot. And they were from the, royal blood and aristocracy. So they had to face the pressure, of bullies actually mocking them for their, royal blood. Like, Your Highness, get up, Royal Highness. And so even they had to face bullying. And Prince Charles said that those 5 years of board school somewhere in England were the worst years of his life, but it actually toughened him up and, taught him to be the man he is today. So,
nice.
Well, that's one of the reasons. Have you ever looked at the grade? Have you ever looked at the statistical average of the kids in school that get bullied? Look at their grades in comparison to that of cheerleaders and things of that nature. Look, even though the kids are 9 times out of 10, if you're being bullied, you're probably smarter than the person bullying you. That's just the way it is. I mean, because you can't. There's no such thing as a smart bully. But the jocks and cheerleaders have you see that they have a high. Sorry, my computer's being stupid. They have an average of a higher grade average, except for a few of the nerds. A few of the nerds are straight A students, but the ones that are intensely bullied, they have horrible grades. And the school system complains, and they're like, oh, well, I don't understand why these people can't seem to get the course. They can't seem to get the grade. How can you possibly learn in torment?
Yeah.
First of all, I'm not going to go too far into it, but our educational system's terrible. But sorry. Anyway, if the teachers and the school district does nothing about it, and they just put signs up all over school that say no bullying allowed, they are doing nothing but feeding the problem and making students fail. I mean, can't learn if you can't even think straight.
Yeah, I know. Again, this falls on educating the teachers. And if they didn't bring this from their childhood, if they were not taught by their parents, by experience, to fight the bullies, to actually take action, to stand up for someone who is being bullied, to acknowledge, to notice that someone is acting a little withdrawn and, locked in himself or herself, that's a sign of being bullied, or physically being sick or not socializing. Pay attention to those kids and watch, observe. Don't just come and ask, okay, are you being bullied? So that doesn't work. But observe and try to be around those kids and try to act, help them.
Mm-hmm. I know one of the hardest types of bullying to be seen is the cyberbullying that they have nowadays.
Oh yes, I know. I hate that.
Physical is the simplest because there's physical evidence of it.
Yeah. Yes.
But in my quest to find other speaking platforms, I have found one school in the Tri-City area here in Michigan. They have a anonymous anti-bullying system on their website where if you see something, you can go in anonymously and send out the tip.
Wow, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Good stuff.
That's amazing. I never even knew about anything like that.
No, me neither.
I never heard of it until I found it on their website. So I applaud the schools for doing that.
Yeah, that right there changes everything. If each school had that, I mean,
I know.
talk that could be the most effective thing that's ever been brought to the table.
I know that's a lot of the fear is kids don't want to step forth and say something in fear that they're going to be the next victim.
Yeah, because bullies will tend to go after the telltales or the rats or who.
But again, there is power in number. So if those kids feel the backup, the soldiers standing behind them, and they can go as a group against a bully, then the bully stand no chance. So
good one.
Bradley's gone.
Oops.
But that's amazing tool. We have to do something about that. Maybe approach other schools to come up with a similar system. I mean, I have to Google it. I have to look it up. It's awesome. Cool. So I don't want to finish on bullying. I want to lighten up a little bit the atmosphere. We were going to discuss your feedback and your insight on the characters portrayed in TV shows, especially the characters on the spectrum like the Big Bang Theory, Sheldon, and maybe the Good Doctor or Atypical.
All right. Well, I'll start on that. I'll begin with the Big Bang Theory. I do watch that show. I haven't missed an episode. And although the word autism has not been thrown around in that show, I think it's safe to say that it's at least implied that Sheldon might have it. What is interesting about that show is it promotes the message or the idea that geek is the new chic. Like, it's kind of cool to be geeky. It's good to be yourself and have your quirks and your special interests.
Right.
Where the show might mess up a bit, though, is that people were to do or say some of the things that Sheldon does or says in his conversations, in real life, those people get kicked out, whether it be fired from their job, rejected from their social circle, evicted from their apartment. So Big Bang, particularly with some of Sheldon's interactions, have to be taken with a big grain of salt.
Well, you also have to take into consideration in the Big Bang Theory, what they're attempting to portray is Asperger's at its highest level. Like they take all the traits of Asperger's and then they push it as far as it can possibly go. That's who Sheldon is supposed to be. He's supposed to be, and that's why it's true what he does is like I struggle with the exact same things that Sheldon struggles with because I have Asperger's, and it is like we are offensive to people and don't mean to. We say things that are hurtful and don't mean to, and we're just being literal most of the time. And that's what Sheldon he's built around just as bad as it can possibly be. Like that's what he's supposed to portray, but yes, don't go copying him. Believe you me, there is an episode. Tom will remember this. There's an episode where him and a lady are sitting on a couch, and she is talking. She is one of the astronaut or something, the foreigner's wife or girlfriend or something, and she says to Sheldon, she says, well, I just sometimes I wish I could be like y'all. And Sheldon's like, well, Sheldon jokes and he was like, oh, well, that could never happen. And then she's like, oh, well, thanks. And he was like, well, that was my version of humor. And then he says, and she said, well, what do you mean you wish you, because Sheldon was like, you have a skill that I would give anything in the world for. And she said, she was like, well, what is that? And he said, I don't know when people are laughing at me or laughing with me. I don't know. I mean, he pours his heart out, and he practically is telling her, he's like, look, you look at me just because I'm smart. Don't mean that this is the greatest thing in the world, because look, being intelligent, it does not make the lack of social skills fun. On any level. I mean, and I'm not trying to stand on a pedestal and say, oh, I'm so smart, this, that, another. No, nothing like that. I'm just saying that this is what people on the spectrum deal with, is even if your intelligence has risen to new heights, the social interaction you suffer. I mean, it really is. It's a form of suffering. And Sheldon pours his heart out on that couch in that episode. And I would highly advise anyone that doesn't know about Asperger's or did not realize that that's what Sheldon had, look up that specific episode where Sheldon Cooper explains Asperger's. And it is. I guess it's very heart-wrenching when he finally opens up and it's like, hey, look, just because I'm smart don't mean I'm cool. Like, I would give anything in the world to be like you for just a day.
Yeah. What about other shows? Have you watched The Good Doctor?
Yes. In fact, out here in Los Angeles at UCLA, they had a showing of the pilot episode for a series of doctors and therapists. And I was on a panel after the show, which included Richard Schiff, who plays Dr. Aaron Glassman, Sean's mentor. Also, David Shore, the show's creator. And so I had a chance to answer a few questions and discuss the topic of employment in people with autism, or lack thereof, rather. And it was right before Disability Awareness Employment Month. It was back in September, October. And I discussed the idea that the show, The Good Doctor, shows the potential and the possibilities in people with autism and what they can bring to an employer or a company, whether it be improving operations, whether it be a perspective or a point of view that hadn't been thought about, or a skill that so many people cannot do that a person with autism can. On the other side of the coin, it addresses the perils and the problems associated with having someone with autism working in a very prestigious hospital, because doctors have to have bedside manner, have to communicate information to patients and families with empathy, thinking about how the patient or the family might be feeling. Whereas Dr. Sean Murphy is like a filter, so direct, straightforward, literal, not afraid to say what's the test results say, or have to run multiple tests at the cost to the hospital. And
I love the show.
The show, yes, brings to light a lot of the potential and the possibilities, but it has gotten some pushback. Like, oh, so my son with autism can't even talk, can become a doctor one day? I don't think so. So that's where the potential starts to get underestimated, which adds to the problem rather than looks to resolve it. So the show, The Good Doctor, definitely has, and I'm really glad that it's gotten greenlit for a second season, that it's going to keep moving forward and explore the conflict both internally and externally that Sean Murphy is experiencing as he looks to lead an independent life, be more social, but realize he has to be his own man, live his own life. And Dr. Glassman, his mentor, is not going to be around forever. So Sean has to think about.
I'm going to look that up. That sounds very interesting.
It is amazing.
The Good Doctor.
Even the pilot, the first episode, when this glass banner at the airport just falls and
Yep.
pierces a kid, and he's trying to save kid's life with
I
this
knew exactly what to
valve.
do.
And
It was kind of like MacGyver. I loved MacGyver.
I know.
He was making this valve with a whiskey bottle and a plastic tube.
And he's at the airport and okay, I need a scalpel and I need alcohol to disinfect the wound. And he's running to the duty-free store, and the guard is with gun.
He ran from security, and luckily the parent was there to say, "Please, he's looking to save the kid's life."
I need a scalpel.
Yep.
Okay, a sharp knife. You're at the airport. It's like
right.
And he's very direct.
That's awesome.
He's keeping his tone down. Like, your son is about to die. I love it.
But see, that's one of the most amusing parts of it. And I have friends that I keep in my circle that not only assist me in realizing when I say or do something too literal or too over the edge, but they're there so that when I'm interacting with other people, they can go, because the other people will come kind of do this sometimes, and they're like, whoa, and then and my friends will be like, look, you understand, he's not trying to be offensive. It's just well, I mean, you are fat. I mean, it's I had to quit. In school, I had to learn. I had to refine my vocabulary so that when I'm being too literal, I can use words that sound like they're not mean. Like, for instance, I started using the word corpulent. I don't know if anyone here. The word corpulent means very fat, and it's not me being mean. I don't do that anymore because I've learned that it's not okay to walk up to someone and go, hey, I see that you're really corpulent. It would be better if you weren't eating that Big Mac. I would suggest, like, that's not cool. But I have friends that I keep in my circle so that they can explain to me, hey, you're crossing the line, bro. Come on, man. Just go.
Yeah.
Yes. For the ladies, you can say they are curvaceous or curvy.
Yes. Well, I mean, I don't do that anymore. I quit doing that. But it used to be a really big problem. I got in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. But, in other cultures, I think I'm not sure if it's Nigeria or Ghana, that when the woman is fat, like really heavily overweight, is considered more beautiful. That means she's got a lot of good nutrients in her and potentially to breed a lot of children and so on and so on. So when they are looking at the skinny, European or American, non-African,
what it is, it's a village.
Deficient.
Yes, it is, and it's actually a village in Guyana that they have the young lady. They will take her and put her in a hut, and in this they take her into this hut, and her mother actually massages every part of her body every single day, and they feed her the most fatty foods that they can come up with every single day, and force her to gorge herself. And they do this for 2 to 3 years straight, and she never gets to leave the room. No one gets to see her until she is extremely corpulent. And then finally, when she comes out, they line up guys. And she comes out there, and then they pull up her fat rolls and show them how much fat she has, and then the guys, if they like her, they step forward, and then she gets to pick from them. That's how it works.
Wow. I love different cultures. You learn so much. It's like, wow.
And all this.
I don't know if that was a bit descriptive.
About the Good Doctor.
Do what?
We were talking about The Good Doctor. Now we're talking about these.
I know, diverse.
We still
welcome to the spectrum.
Atypical as well, but.
Yeah, have you seen Atypical?
I
just saw like 2 episodes or 3.
I was very fortunate to be able to go to the LA premiere of it at Netflix headquarters in Hollywood, and saw a panel with
I
the show's consultant, and even recently went to an autism movie festival where a number of the stars were there up on stage. Jennifer Jason Leigh, Bridget, her last name escapes me right now, who played Sam's sister, and even the actor that played Sam himself was there.
Wow.
And this show has
Mr. Big Shot.
Yeah, I've had some good opportunities to meet people, but anyway, the show once again has its pros and its cons. Let's start with the pros. This explores what it's like for a young man, 18 years old, looking for a relationship, a girlfriend.
Yes.
He loves penguins, and he has his special interests, his quirks. Was also the target of bullying, but his younger sister is there to fight for him or back him up or make sure he has someone to eat lunch with. This show also explores the conflict that the parents, his mother and father, have experienced. There was a time where the father actually abandoned the family for a period of time because he couldn't come to terms with Sam's diagnosis. And the mother is also feeling very stressed and overwhelmed as her son is becoming a legal adult, and she's looking outside the marriage a little bit for comfort in the arms of another man. And also, the series has gotten a little bit of backlash because of the stereotype of Sam walking around with noise-canceling headphones. That's like, not all people with autism are like that. Also, there was some, not necessarily for hearing in this, but because it's loud or But the show also got a little bit of backlash because they didn't actually, at first, really involve the input of people with autism. They only hired professionals that worked with people with autism, not actually bringing anyone with autism into the picture. They have since realized the whole nothing about us without us mentality and started to involve and even have more people with autism be consultants and act in the show. In fact, next season they're going to have a support group with lots of people with autism, and you'll see the wide variety of the spectrum. But Atypical really does explore the personal relationships, both for the person with autism, the parents, the family dynamics. So, and that also got greenlit for another season, so I'm really looking forward to seeing more of that show.
What's the name of the show?
Atypical. Atypical. It's a Netflix series.
Yes.
I think they should come up with a show called something like Aspies in a neurotypical world.
There you go. Let's think about that.
Or maybe you could start it, Tucker.
I don't know how to make a TV show.
Well,
I'll figure it out.
I have some connections with movie producers.
Really?
Talk about that. Yeah.
Well, Tom, you maybe have a star role, and so does Bradley. We got this.
Well, mind you, I don't refer to myself as an Aspie, but I will certainly provide my input.
I know you don't, brother. I was just, you know.
Oh, by the way, many people, they are very awkward. I mean, neurotypical. They are very awkward. They feel uncomfortable because they don't know how to address my son's autism. So they're like, yes, we know your son is, and the A word. Oh, so do they say autistic? Do they say on the autism spectrum? Do they say with autism, suffering from autism, which I don't use, suffering from autism, or gifted, special? What is the most comfortable for you when you describe yourself? So it's not derogatory term.
For me and my family has used person-first language. Or I have autism. I'm on the autism spectrum. I'm a person with autism. Because words carry a lot of power.
Yes.
And in my speeches, I tell people that your diagnosis is not your definition. It does not have to define you and will only define you if you let it do so. So for you to refer yourself as a person, a living, breathing human being first and foremost, and let the diagnosis come second or much later, you start to realize your potential more, or at least, again, that's in my experience. And I've been guilty of, when I introduce myself, I say, I'm Tom Iland, and I go and I list all my accomplishments. Oh, yeah, and by the way, I have autism. So I can do all these things. I can accomplish so much, and I have accomplished so much, but my diagnosis doesn't come first. So I don't say I'm autistic. I don't refer to myself as an autistic or an ASD. And I understand that people want to fit in, become part of a group, and will do just about anything to get it. And it becomes such a large part of their identity that it could, doesn't say it will, but it could limit their potential or help or hold them back in a sense, or think, I can't do that because I have autism, or people telling me I can't do that because I have autism.
Right.
How you see yourself, know yourself. The first part of my mantra, know yourself, how your diagnosis affects you positively and constructively, and address both sides of the coin so you don't make the same mistakes over and over again, but see that you do have the potential to create whatever you want.
And I want to say, it wasn't until I met Tom in Vegas that I actually started looking at it that way. I do still slip up and say I'm an ASD or I am autistic and this, that, and other, but because of his what he pointed out to me really opened my eyes, because I never really looked at it that way. I've always said, well, I'm autistic, I'm an ASD, this, that, and another, and he like, because we as a motivational speaker or inspirational speaker, naturally one of the things that you're gonna talk about at some point is how like he said, words have power, and you speak your life into existence. And hey, I don't know why it wasn't until then that I actually put two and two together and was like, oh wait, it matters for that too. Like, so thank you, Tom, for that. That actually has helped me a lot. I've been trying my best to practice that.
Oh, yes.
I'm so glad that you're making efforts.
I have to go back to my source of knowledge and information. Even God himself, God spoke the word and the word became flesh. So speaking the word has the power to materialize, because this is all energy. Yesterday I was listening to some of the doctors from the series The Truth About Cancer, and he said that it's all energy. Whatever we do, whatever we say, even our thoughts, our frequencies sent out, and they materialize and come back as different matter. So the words do have the power. But like, I wanted to know your feedback, your insight, if when you say I'm autistic or I'm an ASD, do you feel it's a derogatory term, or if it's like hi, I'm Tom, I'm an ASD, or hi, I'm Tucker, I'm autistic?
That's a iffy. Until I met Tom, I never even really looked at it like that, because when someone says, I've had someone use it as an insult, but when someone says, oh, are you autistic or something like that, like, it doesn't offend me, mostly because I don't get offended in any way, but I could very easily see that being an issue, but Tom's probably better on that subject, but due to my lack of emotional connection to offensive language and things of that nature, he would probably be the better person to speak on that note. But once he gets done, I would like to add something to reinforce what you just shared.
Awesome.
And I thank you, Tucker, for acknowledging how much of an impact I've had on your life in that regard. That really means a lot.
Oh, brother, you have no idea.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the reasons why I got into this line of work, because I am a CPA and accountant. I left that line of work behind 2.5 years ago in order to educate and inspire and motivate people with autism. And I think if people with autism hear from someone that is going through what they have been going through or are going through, that's going to make that connection. Because parents, teachers, therapists, they could give the best advice, but they don't really truly understand what the person is going through. Once someone makes that connection, what I've been going through. Thank you. Tell me more. That's going to lead to more effective output. And on the note of, yes, you mentioned, like, do I I personally, again, this is my view, person first language. It's what works for me. It's what's helped me flourish and succeed. Everyone has their own recipe for success. If you want to call yourself autistic and that helps you, go right ahead. I kind of compare it to, as we think about like autistics and having these cliques or these groups or people feeling like they're part of something, it's pretty soon it's turning into, hi, I'm Tom and I'm an autistic. And everyone says, hi, Tom. It's almost become like an Alcoholics Anonymous.
meeting.
And it doesn't have to be that way. Because if we keep dwelling and mellowing in our own sadness and our depression, we're never going to find our own happiness. We have to see past the diagnosis and not let it be who we are.
Yeah.
See that we are people. See that we can do what we put our mind and our heart to. The diagnosis is just a label that you can put on yourself and just as easily remove.
Yes, it is. It is very, very true. But like I said, I wanted to tell a little bit about, to give a little bit of. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I gotta. Yeah. It's just been sitting down for a long time, not moving. Anyway, I wanted to reinforce what you had said before. You said we speak about how we can speak things into existence and how words are energy. Well, in the world of physics, especially quantum physics, if anyone needs any evidence as to how true this really is, go to YouTube and look up something called the double slit experiment. The double slit experiment is something that is done in quantum physics, and it actually proves that that not only is the world, everything around you is made up of energy, but the energy that the world is made up of is actually conscious of observation and can be altered by the type of observation that is going about it. Just to quickly explain the experiment, very briefly, is that we take a hydrogen laser and shoot particles through towards two metal slits, aiming it at the center. So something physical, we put a sheet on the other side, and something physical, you would imagine that if it goes through one slit, it's going to hit the wall. It goes through another slit, it's going to hit the wall, and it's going to make two lines. All right? If you shoot it one at a time, that makes sense. All right? Well, and if you were to send a wave of water towards it, the wave would go through the two slits combined and then create this pattern and create a wave pattern with multiple lines on the wall. All right? Now, if we take but here's the thing. When we fire the particle towards the center of the slit, something cool happens. It goes through the left slit only. It goes through the right slit only. It goes through both slits at the same time, and then it goes through none of the slits. And it doesn't make two lines. It makes a wave pattern. But as soon as we put a little camera beside one of the slits, and as soon as we begin to observe, all of a sudden it goes back to a normal pattern where there's one line, and the particle chooses one at a time instead of going through all possibilities at the exact same time, completely defying the laws of physics. But here's the even cooler part. If we don't tell the particle that we're going to do this, and we reach over here and unplug the camera without telling, and it still thinks the camera's on, it goes back to its wave pattern. Proving that the energy that makes up the universe is conscious of not only observation, but the type of observation that's going on. So when you observe a particle on a quantum scale, you actually change not its physical makeup, but the path of which it takes. And when you're not, while you're observing it, it follows the laws of physics. One hole at a time, one dot at a time. But as soon as you quit observing it, depending on whether it was negatively or positively charged is how it affects where it goes. But regardless, as soon as you stop observing the particles, they literally begin, one particle shot takes every possible route that it could take or could not take. at the same time, completely defying the laws of physics, and even on some occasions completely disappears from reality and reappears on the other side of solid matter faster than the speed of light. So, double slit experiment in a nutshell. It's really cool, and I would advise looking it up.
I'll definitely have to look that one up. Double split experiment.
Yes, double slit.
Slit.
Oh,
So
sorry.
It's like
Two cuts in metal.
Right.
double split experience.
Yes,
Thank you.
That's my fault. Double slit.
Double slits. Gotcha.
I love quantum physics, and actually I caught my son going through YouTube, and he chose mechanic quantum physics, and it was about the drop, like a drop falling, and the waves as well, just moving, and basically showing that time and space is relevant, and actually that time traveling is possible. I mean, it was like some crazy video, but it was scientifically backed up. It was quantum physicists talking about quantum physics and explaining in a very approachable terms, even for not scientific people like me. So it was amazing, and I will try to find this video and I will share it with you guys. It's
if we had 30 or 45 more minutes, which we don't, I could explain to you how time travel is possible, but that would be a whole nother.
That will be our next episode. We'll travel in time and discuss this next time. So
the question is, can you travel time without turning into pudding?
Oh. Well,
okay.
I wanted to address the question I saw pop up here about if I hyper focus on anything. There it is. Do any of you ever hyper focus on certain things or subjects? There was a time where I loved Star Wars to no end and could talk about it all day long. I have since grown into other interests, and namely, I started going to college, going for my accounting degree. So I still do go to Star Wars movies. Like I've seen Solo twice, but not so much a focus now. My main focus or subject that I'm focusing on this moment is being my best self and helping myself come to life and be an inspiration for other people and really make a difference in this world. That is my main hyper focus at this time.
And do you have any obsessions, like passion, but that you are really like obsessed about?
There isn't any particular item or topic that I must know everything about. Again, it was Star Wars once upon a time until I realized there's no Star Wars specialist in the wanted ads, or video game designers usually get a career at 40 or 50 years old. So that's when I shifted to more realistic and practical hobbies.
Sure.
Interests.
If you can't tell, my hyper focus is physics.
Yes, that's awesome.
And I hate to cut this short, but my dog's looking to go for a walk. I have to go vote across the street, and then I have to catch a flight out of LAX. So I'm going to start wrapping up here. But thank you so much
for joining us, brother.
A wonderful interview.
Thank you, guys. And Bradley, I know we'll have you more vocal on our next episode. Thank you, each and every one of you. Tucker, awesome feedback as usual. Tom, phenomenal elaboration on different subjects. And our mentor, our educator. And Bradley, thank you so much for coming and sharing about the bullying. This is your mission, and we'll want to hear more about that. So next episode, we'll definitely go back to quantum physics and physics in general. We'll go back to our obsessions and hyper focus on different things, passions, hobbies, because many people are asking, what are their hobbies? We want to know more about them, what they're like in their private life, when the cameras are off. So we'll talk about that in our next episode. I don't know. We'll discuss when it's going to come, but hopefully soon. Thank you so much, my dream team. Have a great day. And guys, stay tuned. There will be more.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
No, like this, right? Or this is
for Star Trek fans, live long and prosper.
Oh, is that Trekkie? Is that
I've only seen the more recent movies. Star Wars is my favorite.
Right.
I don't know. Sorry. I don't know how to do it.
Another time.
Awesome. Bye.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.